r/ask Reddit. What are some signs that you are being manipulated? Thinking to yourself, no, she wouldn't be doing this on purpose to me one too many times. Wow, this one hits me hard. Manipulators often induce uncomfortable, negative feelings such as fear, guilt, or shame to get you to do what they want. Pay attention to the feelings you get around other people. If you really love me, you would do, insert thing here. There's times when that is appropriate to say. Example, if you really love me, you wouldn't cheat on me. Just, yeah. Everything is always your fault. When you catch them in a lie and you know they've lied, but they still don't admit they've lied. I wouldn't have had to do that if you weren't so. Something that makes you the bad guy here. You're questioning yourself. The term gaslighting is often used to identify manipulation that gets people to question themselves, their reality, memory or thoughts. A manipulative person might twist what you say and make it about them, hijack the conversation or make you feel like you've done something wrong when you're not quite sure you have. This is such an important one to recognize. Examples are telling you that you said something that you didn't or telling you remembered something wrong. You're being manipulated when the essential message is, be reasonable and do things my way. I realize a lot of my friendships were like this because my parents were like this. It's a painful thing to realize, but recognizing that continuation of associating with toxic people is huge and important and puts you in a lot of control of your future. Once I learned the behaviors of that personality, I could work on changing my behaviors and learn to not seek that toxicity out. You can do it. When you do what people want you to do, but they won't do what you want them to do. Yes, and if they then call you selfish for not doing what they want, that's a big red flag. If someone is discouraging you from talking to or hanging out with your friends and family. I mean, my girlfriend sat me down and pointed out a ton of abusive signs from my parents, which my parents took to mean she doesn't want you to be around us. She's manipulative and anti-family. No, she pointed out that I was simultaneously being treated as an adult and a child where they found it most convenient, and that they literally screamed at me, not shouting words. Just got in my face and let out a long loud "ah" when I made a simple mistake when she was at our house helping prepare for Thanksgiving. My girlfriend doesn't discourage me from seeing my friends though. They're all nice. If they do something that hurt you and you end up apologizing instead, or if you tell a person that you're uncomfortable with, say, certain types of jokes, but they keep telling you that you're just too sensitive. Basically, if they make you feel bad for their actions. My ex, if I ever was upset, rather than comforting me she'd get double upset until I had no choice but to comfort her. Never felt really cared for. You are being forced to make decisions that you are uncomfortable with. You feel like someone is always pushing you to make rushed decisions. You never get the last word. Someone behaving differently in public versus in private. Usually you don't really realize it. When other people start telling you there's a problem, that's when you finally realize. That's what it took for me. When you look back later you can finally see what everyone else saw. For me, it was a friend mirroring the words I said to him 20 years prior when his ex was gaslighting him. How long are you going to let her do this to you? Man, I had to struggle against the way she'd trained me not to question her to gain the strength to leave her. But as her influence waned I realized more and more how bad it was. Some signs that I know of because research are, if you defend yourself against the manipulator, but then they play innocent and make you feel guilty, and making themselves feel like the victim. If they keep you from your friends, make you drop connections with others. Gaslighting, choosing certain things for you, that is, food, clothing, just what they want, and stuff you might not like, making you stay home instead of going out, and there are tons of more, but those are what I decided to list because I'm lazy. For me it was just the opposite on that last one. I like staying home, but she always wanted to go out and convinced me to buy her things that I really didn't want to or didn't really have the extra money to buy. Manipulators are extremely jealous and needy, usually narcissist type. They will start small by getting you to do little favors for them, then they get angry if you don't do everything they ask. And a lot of manipulative people will start fights and argue for no reason. Just endless fights about who is right. Most relationships with narcissists don't even start by them asking anything of you, but of them being incredibly generous to you and making you feel like you're the most awesome person they've ever met. Once you buy into that hype and think, wow, I've never met someone so kind and giving, that's when they start asking for little things. And of course you concede because they've already shown how generous they are when they barely even knew you. And then it snowballs until you're eventually sucked dry from giving and never receiving even basic affection or acknowledgement from someone you thought cared about you. Aggressiveness, anger/conversation steering at the very beginning of a discussion that they don't want to have. The conversation will never occur. There is always something that stops or diverts it endlessly. My ex used to punish me by getting angry and withdrawing affection. Cold shoulder. If I would question or criticize her, this caused me to never question her or criticize her, effectively shutting down healthy communication between us. When we divorced, I found out how much money she'd been wasting, and with my head clear I figured out all of the things she'd been hiding from me for years. I didn't realize what she'd been doing. I thought I was the bad guy, and I spent 15 years trying to compensate for my perceived inadequacy. Reading this thread and replies and thinking, oh, shit is probably not a good sign. Bruh, yay. I'm freaking out right now, Mayo. I thought I was helping someone remove themselves from a manipulative situation. But reading this, it seems like I've been manipulated this whole time as well, colon. At some point you stopped doubting them and started doubting yourself. That's a sign you've been gaslighted. For me, it was being accused of being overly sensitive. Turns out it's completely reasonable to be offended by offensive things. A big red flag is that you feel utterly miserable after spending time with them. A much bigger red flag is that you desperately want to spend time with them again. Toxic relationships are fiercely addictive. More than any substance I have ever tried. If a person makes you absolutely miserable, and you feel like you can't live without them, you're in serious trouble. Only some very good friends, and if possible a therapist, can get you out of that. Anybody who forcefully attempts to assert their trustworthiness isn't. When you call them out for doing something hurtful and they say, yeah, I'm a piece of shit then, or if you want to believe I did that, then I can't stop you. Or I'm sorry what I did hurt you, but I don't regret it. When you have to keep assuring someone that you are not manipulating them, manipulators always accuse others of being manipulative. You feel uncomfortable, but can't pinpoint why exactly. Alternatively, you can figure out the problem, but talking about it with the manipulator doesn't resolve anything. The silent treatment, you constant being given the feeling you are doing something wrong. Behavior towards others painfully different than behavior towards you. Keeping you from family and friends. Calling you wherever you are for control. Change treatment of you without giving reason. I'll probably get downvoted for this, but if someone is truly good at manipulation, there aren't signs. You don't notice. You only realize you were being manipulated in retrospect. Every time you say something, they make you feel like it's your fault or like you're the villain, making you question your judgment and own memories. If someone tries to tell you that you can't leave them because you're all they have, red flag 100% of the time. When your behavior around that person is entirely narrowed down to things that won't upset that person, because they have trained you with the constant threat of their bad emotions. Knowing what was said or done, especially if it was hurtful or negative towards you, but constantly being told that's not what happened and you're crazy then they tell you what happened. Gaslighting over time really does make you feel crazy. Once you're away from that person and cut them off and the fog lifts, it's a beautiful life. Leaving every interaction feeling like you compromised. You were made to feel at fault, like you need to make something up to the other person even if it was a blatant issue with them. I got upset at my ex for staying up late and getting absolutely blasted drunk with my friend, who was an alcoholic, and I felt very insecure about if they liked each other because it was such a weird dynamic for them to do this behind my back. I brought up that I felt disrespected because I was woken up at 3 AM on a work night by the two of them laughing and then her throwing up in my living room. I knew she had a problem, but when I brought it up with him, he packed up all his stuff, told me I was awful, and made me apologize and beg for forgiveness. Yet duck that. If you find yourself sharing identical opinions with poorly educated, Unqualified nut jobs who ignore global highly educated experts and a myriad of provable facts in lieu of YouTube videos, opinions and niche websites, then I'm afraid you've just been manipulated to the max, my gullible friend. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.